Another client termination notice, my assistant Lisa asked as I stared at the email on my screen. That's the fifth one this week. I nodded, my jaw tight. All of them giving the same reason. They were transferring their business to Summit Solutions, my brother David's company. My name is Alexandra Chen, and at 35, I was watching the business I'd spent 10 years building crumble piece by piece. Not because of market forces or bad decisions, but because my own brother had orchestrated its destruction. Have you heard from the Torres account? I asked Lisa, though I already knew the answer. They'd been our biggest client, worth nearly $2 million in annual contracts. She shook her head. David has a meeting with them this afternoon. Of course he did. David had been systematically targeting my top clients for months, using inside information he gathered during our years working together, before he'd left to start his own company, before he decided that destroying mine was his path to success. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Hello, David, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Hey, sis, he said, his tone dripping with fake concern. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Torres signed with us this morning. Thought you should hear it from me. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. How generous of you. Look, Alex, this is just business. You know how it goes. The strong survive, the weak. He paused for effect. Well, they should probably start looking for new opportunities. Is that what Mom would say? I asked quietly. Is this how she raised us to treat family? His laugh was sharp. Don't bring Mom into this. She's been gone for 5 years. This is about business, not family. And frankly, you're not cut out for it. Never were. I thought about the flash drive in my desk drawer, the one containing information that could change everything. Maybe you're right, I said softly. Maybe I'm not cut out for this after all. Finally admitting it, he sounded smug. Tell you what, I'll buy your client list for 10 cents on the dollar. It's more than fair considering most of them are jumping ship anyway. I glanced at Lisa, who was watching me with concern. She knew what was in that flash drive too. Knew what David didn't. I'll think about it, I replied. Was there anything else? Yeah, actually, Mom's house. I think it's time we sold it. No point holding onto it when your company can't even afford the property taxes anymore. The house. Our childhood home, where Mom had raised us after Dad died. Where she taught us about business, ethics, the importance of family. David knew how much it meant to me. I understand, I said, my voice steady despite the anger burning in my chest. Send me the paperwork and I'll review it. After hanging up, I pulled out the flash drive and connected it to my laptop. The files inside were exactly as I remembered. Emails, financial records, client communications. All documenting David's methods for stealing my clients. What he didn't know was that I'd been gathering evidence for months. Every underhanded tactic, every stolen trade secret, every violated non-compete agreement, all meticulously documented. But that wasn't even the biggest secret. Should I call them? Lisa asked, knowing exactly what I was thinking. I nodded. It's time. Set up the meeting for tomorrow. She picked up her phone, dialing a number we'd had ready for weeks. Hello, Mr. Torres. Yes, this is Lisa from Chen Consulting. Ms. Chen would like to schedule that meeting we discussed. Yes, the one about Summit Solutions' fraudulent certifications. I smiled, remembering the day I discovered David's biggest mistake. In his rush to steal my clients, he'd falsified his company's security certifications, the ones required to handle government contracts. The same contracts that made up 60% of the Torres account. David thought he was destroying my company. He didn't realize he was actually destroying himself. Meeting confirmed for 9 a.m., Lisa announced. Mr. Torres sounded very interested in what we have to share. I stood up, walking to the window of my office. The city sprawled below, including the gleaming building where David's company was headquartered. He was probably there now, celebrating his latest victory, thinking he'd finally beaten his big sister. Send the preliminary documents to the FBI as well, I told Lisa. It's time they had a look at Summit Solutions' certification records. Mom always said that success wasn't about being the strongest or the most ruthless. It was about being the smartest, the most prepared. About doing things the right way, even when others didn't. I touched the photo of her on my desk, remembering her words from so long ago. The truth always comes out, Alexandra. Your job is to be ready when it does. Well, Mom, I thought. I'm ready now. My phone buzzed again. Another message from David, checking in about that client list offer. Tick-tock, sis. Time's running out. I typed back a simple response. You're right, time is running out, but not for me. The next morning, I arrived at the office early. The meeting with Mr. Torres wasn't until 9, but I needed time to prepare. Lisa was already there, arranging documents on the conference room table. Everything's ready, she said, handing me a coffee. FBI agent Wilson called. They're very interested in the certification documentation we sent over. I nodded, reviewing the papers one last time. Financial records, emails, and most damaging of all, proof that David had forged federal security certifications to handle government contracts. It wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. My phone buzzed. David again. Just had breakfast with Johnson Tech. Guess who's their new strategic partner? Your client list offer expires at noon. Take it or leave it. I set the phone down without responding. Johnson Tech was about to learn some interesting things about their new partner. At 8:55, Mr. Torres arrived. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. Exactly the kind of person who wouldn't appreciate being deceived. Alexandra, he said as I greeted him, your message was concerning. You mentioned something about Summit Solutions certifications. Please sit down. I gestured to the conference room. What I'm about to show you affects not just your company, but potentially your government contracts as well. For the next hour, I laid out everything we discovered. How David had falsified his company's security credentials. How he'd used stolen information to poach clients. The federal regulations he'd violated in the process. Mr. Torres's face grew darker with each revelation. These government contracts, he said slowly, they require top-level security clearance. If Summit Solutions isn't properly certified, your company could be held liable. I finished. The contracts could be voided, and there might be federal penalties. He picked up one of the documents, examining it closely. And you can prove all of this. I pulled out the flash drive. Every email, every falsified document, every violation. It's all here. The FBI already has copies. His hand tightened around the paper. That son of a... He assured us everything was in order. We have millions riding on these contracts. I know, I said softly. That's why I called this meeting. You needed to know the truth before it was too late. Just then, my phone buzzed again. David was calling. I let it go to voicemail. What happens now? Mr. Torres asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. That depends on you, I replied. Chen Consulting still has all the proper certifications. We can handle the transition back, minimize any disruption to your operations. He nodded slowly. And Summit Solutions? The FBI will handle that part. I expect they'll be paying my brother a visit very soon. As if on cue, Lisa knocked and entered the conference room. Sorry to interrupt, but you'll want to see this. She turned on the TV mounted on the wall. The news headline made my breath catch. FBI raids local tech company over fraudulent government certifications. The camera showed agents entering Summit Solutions building, boxes of documents in their hands. And there was David being escorted out, his face a mask of shock and confusion. My phone started ringing again, this time from an unknown number. Probably David using someone else's phone since I wasn't answering his calls. Mr. Torres watched the news footage, his expression grim. I need to make some calls, he said, standing up. And then we should discuss moving our contracts back to Chen Consulting. Immediately. After he left, Lisa turned to me. David's been calling the office nonstop. Should I keep blocking him? I thought about it for a moment. No, I said finally. The next time he calls, put him through. I didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, my phone buzzed again. What did you do? David's voice was ragged, panicked. The FBI. They're saying something about fraudulent certifications. Alex, you have to help me. I closed my eyes, remembering all the times he tried to destroy my company, steal my clients, take away everything I'd built. Help you. I repeated softly. Like you helped me, David? Is this the kind of family support you were talking about? This is different, he shouted. This is federal charges. I could go to prison. Yes, I said calmly, you could. Actions have consequences, David. Mom taught us that, remember? He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, smaller, almost like the little brother I used to know. Please, Alex, I messed up. I know that now, but I need my big sister. I gripped the phone tighter. thinking about everything that had led us here, the choices he'd made, the lines he crossed. I'll have my lawyer contact you, I said finally. But David? This is the last time. Whatever happens next. We're done. I hung up before he could respond, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Through my office window, I could see more news vans arriving at Summit Solutions. The story was breaking wide open. Lisa appeared in my doorway. Johnson Tech is on line 1. They want to discuss moving their business back to us. I nodded, picking up the phone. It was time to rebuild what David had tried to destroy. But this time, I'd do it knowing exactly who I could trust. And who I couldn't. 3 weeks after the FBI raid, I sat in my office reviewing contracts. Johnson Tech, Torres, and most of our other former clients had returned, their trust in Chen Consulting restored. Summit Solutions was under federal investigation, its assets frozen, its reputation in tatters. Your brother's lawyer is here, Lisa announced, standing in my doorway. He's requesting a meeting. I glanced at the clock. Right on time, sent him in. Richard Bennett, one of the city's top criminal defense attorneys, entered my office carrying a thick folder. His expression was grim. Ms. Chen, he began, taking a seat. I'll be direct. The evidence against your brother is overwhelming. He's looking at serious federal charges. Fraud, falsifying documents, violating government contracts. The prosecutors are talking about 15 to 20 years. I kept my face neutral. And why are you telling me this? He leaned forward. Because you're the key witness. Your testimony, your evidence, it's the cornerstone of their case. But you're also his sister. We're hoping you might consider not cooperating. Not cooperating? I repeated slowly. You mean lie to federal investigators? Withhold evidence? Think about your family, he pressed. Your mother. Don't. My voice was sharp. Don't you dare bring my mother into this. David didn't think about family when he was trying to destroy my company, when he was stealing my clients, when he was threatening to take our childhood home. Bennett shifted uncomfortably. He made mistakes. He knows that now. He's prepared to make full restitution to your company. With what money? I cut in. The money he stole from my clients, the funds he obtained through fraudulent contracts, that money isn't his to offer. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from David. Please help me, Alex. I'm begging you. Mom would want you to help family. I showed the message to Bennett. See this? Even now, he's trying to manipulate me, using our dead mother to avoid consequences. Ms. Chen. No, I said firmly. I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to testify. I'm going to provide every piece of evidence I have. And I'm going to make sure that everyone knows exactly what David did. He's your brother. Bennett tried one last time. Yes, he is. And that's why this hurts so much. But sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones closest to us. And sometimes loving someone means letting them face the consequences of their actions. After Bennett left, I drove to our mother's house, the one David had tried to force me to sell. The garden was overgrown, but her roses were still blooming. I sat on the porch steps, remembering all the lessons she'd taught us there. Always do what's right, she'd say, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. My phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. I answered, knowing who it would be. Alex? David's voice was small, broken. They're saying I'll have to plead guilty, that fighting the charges will only make it worse. Then plead guilty, I said quietly. Take responsibility for once in your life. How can you do this to me? His voice cracked. I'm your brother. Yes, you are. And I'm your sister. The one you tried to destroy, remember? The one whose company you sabotaged, whose clients you stole. He was quiet for a moment. I never thought. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But it did go this far, David. You crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. And now you have to face the consequences. After hanging up, I walked through Mom's garden, touching the roses she loved so much. Tomorrow, I would meet with federal prosecutors. I would tell them everything. Not out of revenge, but because it was right. 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom as David pleaded guilty. The judge sentenced him to 12 years with possibility of parole. As they led him away, he looked back at me one last time. I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Understanding. That evening, I returned to Mom's house. But this time, I wasn't alone. Lisa and several workers were with me. Are you sure about this? Lisa asked as we walked through the overgrown garden. I nodded. Mom always wanted to help people. This is how we'll honor her memory. The sign was already being installed at the front gate. Chen Foundation, supporting ethics in business. We were turning the house into a nonprofit, dedicated to helping small businesses protect themselves from fraud and unfair practices. David's actions had shown me how vulnerable companies could be. Now I would use that lesson to help others. In my office at Chen Consulting, I kept one reminder of everything that had happened. The flash drive that had started it all. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that sometimes doing the right thing means making the hardest choices. David writes to me sometimes from prison. His letters are different now, more reflective, less manipulative. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he hasn't. But I know I did the right thing, not just for me, but for him too. Mom always said that true strength isn't in winning at any cost. It's in standing up for what's right, even when it breaks your heart. Looking at her roses blooming in the foundation's garden, I know she would be proud. Not because I won, but because I did it the right way. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from the people we love most. But sometimes those lessons lead us exactly where we need to be.